Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about gear, and it's not gear that I loved. It's not the favorite gear from last year. It's actually my least favorite gear. Things that you shouldn't waste your money on. Luckily, I wasted my money on these things for you, and they failed, and they're about to go in the garbage. So I wanted to share some of the things that I've struggled with this past year. You know, it's not something that I usually share, the things that break or that get fried or that just really functionally don't work. So that's what this video is all about, and I'm gonna jump right into it. So I'm gonna start with a camera, which is the Insta360 X3 camera. You know, I really wanna love this camera. I've used it a lot actually, most notably on the West Coast Trail, which if you guys watched that video from the summer, there are a lot of shots where it looks like I have a cameraman walking with me, and that was on this camera. And I do love parts of it, but it's not durable at all. I've had to get the lens repaired 3 times because basically anytime you take this thing out and it touches anything, it gets a scratch on the lens, and then you get like this terrible sun glare at the top or the bottom or through the middle of the lens. And you can't really edit that out. You have to either just use that shot and it looks not that great, or you have to kind of cut and crop around it, which means that sometimes you don't get the shot that you want. And while they have been really great about allowing me to send these cameras in for repair, you pay like $150, I think, to replace the lenses, and they end up just always sending you a brand new camera. So you have to redo all the settings and things of that nature, which is fine. But you would think for an action camera, they would just make this lens a little bit more durable. You know, the GoPro Max, which is the kind of competitor to this camera, comes with actual covers for storing this. I actually carry this in like a little cloth bag just to try to protect it a little bit more, but I have pretty much failed. Within the first 5 minutes of usually using this, I get a new scratch on the lens. So I'm gonna have to probably not use this anymore. I also have a GoPro Max. I'm gonna really transition into using that more instead of this. I will say that the software for editing the Insta360 footage is really great. I do prefer it over the GoPro editing software, but this camera, for the price you pay, just really is not rugged enough for what they even market that you should be using it for. So sorry, Insta, but I'm not in love with your camera anymore. And I'm not in love with their accessories either, because I also got this, which is their underwater housing for this camera, and did not know going into using it that you basically can't use this camera in the same functionality as you can when it doesn't have the cover on. You actually can see this diving housing when you're snorkeling or scuba diving, and that really ruins your shot. So it's fine for like Instagram or something, but if you're trying to be more professional, it's just really not great. It's also hard to know what you're pressing when you're underwater. I'll show you some of the footage that I shot on this, and there were a lot of shots that I missed and a lot where the stitching between the lenses really was wrong because of this cover. Now this camera is actually waterproof, but they really encourage you to buy all these accessories. So I didn't know that I could go scuba diving with it without the case, and now they've actually updated this in the new camera so that this will be invisible, much like the camera itself when you're outside. So I'm not going to upgrade this camera because it was already, you know, several $100s, and I don't like it enough to get another one. Next on this list is sadly another accessory from Insta360. This is actually the telescoping invisible stick, and it's supposed to allow you to have like 10 feet of reach with the Insta360. So you could basically shoot shots that look like you're shooting on a drone from the Insta360 with the extension of this pole. Now it's, I think, some sort of carbon fiber or something similar to that, but it's extremely lightweight. But on the absolute first use of this, I broke it. So you're supposed to be able to just pull it and extend it. Unfortunately, I can't even do it because the other interior poles that are supposed to come out of this have all basically broken. And the first time I tried to use it and extend this, the middle ones just came out of the middle. So this thing was a total waste of money, and definitely would not buy it again. Now, I believe I got this from Insta360. It does say Braveheart on it, which is a trademark, I believe. But I believe this is the one they sell on the Insta360 website. So definitely would not waste your money on this. The cheat for that is if you have a tripod that actually has a monopod attached to it, you can use that. Just extend that tripod leg, take it off your camera, or take it off your tripod rather, and extend that as far as you want, and you have exactly that probably already in your camera kit and don't need to waste $60, $70 on this pole, because no matter the pole size, if it's, you know, skinny like that, it will be invisible to the Insta360. So don't waste your money on that. Since we're talking a little bit about tripods or sticks, I'm just gonna share, I actually really love this tripod, but I recently got a carbon fiber one, and it's 1/3 of the weight of this. So one of the things I'm no longer gonna be buying are heavy tripods. This is made by Benro. The new tripod that I have that's underneath this camera that we're shooting on right now is also by Benro. And I had previously bought this one, which you guys can see has these like twisties here. They all fell apart. This just wasn't rugged enough for me. And it also weighs a lot more than this carbon fiber one. So in the future, if I do have to replace a tripod again, I'm definitely gonna spend the extra money and get something lightweight that's a bit easier to hike with and travel with. All right, next on this list are these GoPro suction cup mounts. I have 4 of these because 3 of them broke. I think these are older models. These are like the knockoff non-GoPro ones. So if you're looking for a suction cup mount for a GoPro or an action camera, I would highly recommend spending a couple extra dollars to buy something that's high quality. GoPro now makes a better version of this that is much better. But these ones that I have, like all of the parts came apart, all of the bolts broke. Like they're not supposed to do this. So these are unfortunately going in the garbage as well, or I'm gonna have to go buy some different things at the hardware store to actually fix these. So it definitely does pay to spend a little bit more to get good quality gear. When you buy the cheaper kind of knockoff stuff, it does break and it does not last very long, and then you end up just getting frustrated, or you end up not being able to shoot what you want to shoot because your gear is not working for you. Next on the list is this little Pivo. And now this is not the Pivo name brand. I got this a couple years ago. But if you've heard of Pivo, it's basically a little phone tripod that will rotate when it sees your face, and it will, unfortunately the battery's dead, but you stick it in here and see how well it works, guys. There we go. So you put it on here, you put it on top of a tripod as well if you'd like, and the camera on your phone will work with Bluetooth to be able to actually rotate this. And so you can kind of do like fun tracking shots, or if you're doing like Instagram stories or something like that, you can actually move around the room and it will follow you. So it's actually pretty cool, but the reason why I'm saying not to waste your money on this is I really think that buying a phone gimbal like a DJI Osmo or something like that is definitely a better usage of your money. The price is not that much different, and you obviously get a lot more function out of a little phone gimbal than you would out of this. And also this is actually like quite bulky. It takes up quite a bit of room in your bag or in your camera container as well. So I wouldn't waste your money on that. I'd get something else instead. Next on the list is this dry bag. Now this dry bag is made by Earth Packs. And I use a lot of dry bags. You know, when I'm backpacking, if I'm in areas where I don't have to carry a bare box, I will usually take a dry bag and use that as my food container. And when I was just in Antarctica and down in the southern side of the world, I was using a dry bag when we were out on skiffs, when we were on land, to carry my cameras, protect it from ice and rain and snow. So I do love a good dry bag, but this one is just not rugged at all. Not only did I puncture little holes in this from just carrying it around, but the strap also completely separated here. So this has got to go in the garbage. Absolutely. It did keep my things dry for a little bit, but it only lasted for about a month, and that is definitely not worth your money. Okay, I just have a few more items here on this list. Luckily, there weren't too many things that sucked in 2023, but there are always things that break or that just don't function, I think, as they should. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are some stoves. And maybe some of you guys have tried this exact same stove. I don't know, but this is something that I bought a long time ago, and I've actually only used it once. So it's basically one of these like little smokeless camp stoves. You can put sticks or grass, whatever you can kind of find laying around in here, and you can actually cook on top of this using this. And supposed to kind of replace a gas kind of cook stove. The problem that I have with it is that not only is it really big and kind of makes a bit of a mess, but most of the United States, especially when you're in the backcountry, you can't use stoves like this. So it really doesn't have that much of a functionality for me. I used it right when I first got it at a campsite that I was camping at when I was staying in the Sequoia National Forest, and cook some food on it. Not super efficient. Also hard to find things that will fit in that because, you know, obviously most sticks and pieces of wood are much larger than will fit in that. So as much as I want to use this and I think that it's really cute, I don't really think that it has as much usage as just a camp stove that you use a little gas propane with. Not that many places that you can use this in the United States. Again, it is big, and if I can have a fire somewhere, I'm going to have an actual campfire. And if I want to cook food on that campfire, I probably will just bring the utility to be able to do that. Now, usually, even when I'm camping in a place that I can have a fire, I still will cook my food on my camp stove. So I haven't found a lot of usage of that. But if this is something that you have, one of these little smokeless personal camp stoves, please drop a comment down below. I'd love to know if you use it very often and in what capacity, if that's backpacking or camping or car camping, or if you just have it on your deck. So definitely drop a comment down below and let me know. And the other stove that I want to talk about is the Jetboil. Now, I actually love this stove. I really do. And I've used it a lot. But the problem is that this stove is actually about 32 ounces of water that it holds. And as a person that's usually solo, it's just way too big for me. One of the things that I love about this stove is that it does have this ring around the burner, which makes it so even on a windy day, it's really easy to light and it's really easy to keep this thing warm. It boils water really quickly, but for me, it's just way too big. I don't need anything this big. Even the actual stove part that you stick onto your propane is quite bulky and large to be able to fit this pot on top. So for me, I'm no longer using this. And as much as I love it, it's one that is now mostly staying in my garage unless I'm car camping. I would also go back to using this probably if I brought a friend with me and we were going to be cooking things that required a bit more water. But for me, nowadays, I've actually downsized to a smaller stove with a smaller cup as well, which has been a lot more efficient for me and saved a lot of room in my pack. Another thing I don't think that you should waste your money on are expensive first aid kits. I actually have one of these in my garage. I don't think I've ever used it. I think I got it as a gift, and while it has some really awesome things in it, it's just not something you really need to spend money on. I think most of us have in our medicine cabinets Band-Aids, we have tape, we have, other things that you would need to put in your first aid kit like Vaseline or aspirin, and you can just make what you want. Get a little waterproof bag. Even this one is probably too big and more than I need, but I just throw the things that I need in there. Tape, fire starter, some cord, zip ties, and I make my own first aid kit. There's no reason to go spend $50 or $80 on buying a first aid kit when you probably have everything that you would need to put in that first aid kit. And I think first aid kits should really change with where we are with the elements as well. So don't waste your money on an expensive first aid kit. Just make one at home. The last thing on this list isn't something that you shouldn't buy. It's just something that broke on me, kind of like a funny moment. And I'm actually using the updated version right now, which is my Rode wireless microphone. Now, I use a lot of different microphones in my productions, depending on where I am, depending on how professional I want to be, and depending on how many people are on camera. So for a long time, I was using the Rode Wireless Go, just the original one. And unfortunately, in Antarctica, while I was on this ship, I plugged this into charge, and let me just say, I have used the same cable to charge it dozens of times, and I had already been using it dozens of times on the ship too. But one day while I wasn't in the room, I don't know if there was a power surge or what, but basically the outlet surged into this cable and it melted into this microphone. So I now had to buy a newer version, at the cost of $300 or $400. So lots of things always break. And I'm definitely a person that is very rugged. I am not easy on gear. A lot of the things that I buy or use end up breaking. I have a lot of apparel that ends up getting holes in it on the first use. So I'm definitely a rough and tumble kind of woman. And the gear that I have has to be rugged and it has to be made to be able to last a long time in the elements. So I've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations with gear. And if you guys have any gear that you would like to add to this list that you've purchased or wasted your money on or just didn't last as long as you thought it should, please drop a comment down below. I'd love to compile a list that I can share on the blog of just everyone's experiences of things that just didn't go as well as they should have. So drop a comment down below with that. And over the next few weeks, I have so much new content coming out. I know that I've been off the air for a couple of weeks here throughout the holidays because I've been out shooting some really cool stuff, Antarctica, Patagonia, and more from here in California as well. So lots to come on the channel. I'll also be updating some of my gear lists from last year with some of the things that I changed in 2023. So look forward to that as well. And if there's anything you want to add to this list, again, make sure to drop it down below. I will see you guys all in another adventure very soon.